Well, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there. It's time for another episode of the SoundTraxx Soundbites. This is Train Talk from Milepost 141. This is the SoundTraxx podcast, where Graham and I get to spend some time, share some of the projects that we've been working on, talk about some things that come up over our daily business, and also just basically relax, kick back, have a little fun, and poke fun at each other too. Anyway, with that, I know we had a couple of shows the last few weeks. I was out in Chicago doing the O-Scale meet, and that turned out to be really fun weekend. Met a lot of people, and I'm telling you, everybody's loving the Blunami.
Everyone's getting hooked on it. I've already had people calling this week that say, "Hey, I talked to George about it. Which Blunami should I get for this?" and different things like that.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. But I think the problem is a lot of people don't realize it, or they just dismiss it for whatever reason. I don't know. But there's a lot of that kind of going around.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you haven't checked it out, please do. It really does make things easy. But the best part is about the Blunami is that if you still have a DCC system, you're not a Blunami customer, because when I was talking to people, I gave a class at one of the stores in Des Plaines, Illinois, Des Plaines Hobbies. And I was talking to them, and I said, all right, how many of you guys have DCC? And most of the people raised their hand. I was like, all right, how many of you guys love setting CVs?
Nobody.
Two people raised their hand.
Oh, two people this
time.
Two
people this time. I was shocked. And I was like, okay, but you're still, okay, welcome everybody. Now you're all Blunami customers. Because that's one of the benefits of the Blunami, is the fact that you can make all your adjustments through the app using menus, checkboxes, slider bars, and you can make the decoder do what you want it to do. Then if you want to run it on your DCC system, go for it. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, this is like exactly what I was talking with someone about today. They were like, I've got a bunch of Tsunami 2s. I love them. They're great. I run them on my NCE or DCC, whatever he had. And I say, well, why don't you try Blunami? He's like, well, I probably should. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, you can still operate it just the same.
Yeah, and one of the stories I tell is I had a customer, and this was prior to you being here. We had a customer call up, and he was telling us, he says, I really love your products. I love everything. It sounds great. This sounds better than everything out there, but I just can't get over the fact that it starts up, so I have to buy the other brands. And I was like, so wait a minute, hold on, time out. You've got all these features and all these benefits of using our product, but you're skipping because you didn't find the setting?
Yeah. Or
didn't call us to ask, hey, can I turn that off? Because these locomotives are sitting here quiet. You're muted, I realize that.
Yeah.
But these are sitting here. I can blow the horn, ring the bell, but they're sitting here. And we literally powered the track up a minute before we turned on the camera just to make sure.
Yeah.
So, these locomotives have that as an option. You can turn it on, turn it off. But my point being is that for those of you who are wanting the auto start to be disabled, there's a menu. You simply go in and find the menu, and you just uncheck auto start to disable it.
Yeah, you don't have to learn the CVs anymore.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So anyway, so we did the Chicago O-Scale meet, met a lot of great people, and I'm telling you, O-Scale is cool, and it's tempting.
Yeah.
Because big trains, and man, you just know the size of the speakers can go in those things.
Yeah, the sound that you can get. Like, we fired up our 2 test models here, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, yeah. You can hear them halfway across the room, but it also gives you that ability to have those bigger speakers, so more of that low frequency comes out. I know there's speaker types that you can use. In some of my models, I'll put 2 of our Cubes 3 speakers, sometimes 4, depending on, and those 4 speakers are able to reproduce those low frequencies. But this one, for example, has one of JT Burke's Scale Sound System speakers in it, and so it really does help, allow you to make the model do the way you want it or sound well. But when you get those bigger models, those big speakers, when you hear it, you can feel that air compressor hit, because that air compressor kicks on that low energy, just whoa, 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 whoa.
It's almost more like standing next to the real thing.
Yeah, it does. You can hear all those frequencies. And so, but I mean, modeling's all about compromises, right? So anyway, at the time of this recording, we're actually going to be going to the Rocky Mountain Train Show, but I think this is scheduled to be released. So we're leaving here very soon. And I say we, meaning me. I'll be up there, so hopefully I got to meet a lot of you guys up there. I'm looking forward to that show as well. That's the biggest show in the West. And so with Amherst and Train Fest both being kind of eastern, Milwaukee, and then Amherst is up in Massachusetts. And then you've got the national show travels, but that's hit or miss depending on where it is. I mean, last year in California, there was a lot of issues that popped up on that one, and so that one was not a big show. And when they were talking about limiting attendance because it was in the hotel lobby, or the hotel ballrooms, kind of made it a little bit tough.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have the ability to get out to one of these big shows like that, always come out. If you want to know where we're going to be, if you go to our website at SoundTraxx.com, and under company, you can actually see the list of the trade shows, because it'll say trade shows, and you click on that. And then there's a list of all the ones we've committed to coming up here in usually the next year. We try to plan ahead enough. So it's kind of, but it's always changing, so feel free to check back. So, for example, after I get back from here, I don't have anything really till July. So there's a greater than zero chance something may pop up, something may not. But July is going to be busy because I'm going to be gone 3 weekends in July, including 4th of July weekend. We're going to go visit our friends out at Spring Creek Model Railroad, or Spring Creek Model Trains. Sorry. My train club back in Texas that I used to be part of was Spring Creek Model Railroad Club. So every now and then my words fumble together.
Get them all mixed up.
And I get them mixed up. But yeah, the Spring Creek Model Trains in Deschler, Nebraska is going to be July 5th and 6th. And then the national show in Novi, Michigan or something like that is the following week. I think the national train show is actually something like the 14th or whatever that is. So check that out. And then we have St. Louis RPM, which is an annual railroad prototype modelers meet, which I always enjoy doing. We get to see a lot of great friends and people in that area. So yeah, when you're looking at shows, if you have a show in your area that we should be aware of, send us an email to sales@soundtraxx.com. Let us know about your events in your area. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on a little bit, and I know you're chomping at the bit to show off your new model over there. This bright orange thing that I need sunglasses to look at.
Yeah, so it's been kind of busy a lot. Haven't had too many projects going on, but we did talk about last week about showing off the BNSF GP38, and we were kind of talking about the new Jeep15s that George had gotten with a lot of the new added lighting features, and it's a similar thing that they've done on these Jeep38s as well. So they've actually, depending on the prototype, this one doesn't have the lit class lights, lit number board lights, and then this one's kind of fun because it has front and rear ditch lights as well. The BNSF 2081's kind of a fun unit, and I didn't even realize this till actually after I bought it, but people were pointing out it's the locomotive that you drive in the simulator, Microsoft Train Simulator, in the tutorial level.
Oh, wow.
And so I had not even ever realized that, so that kind of made it more fun because I played that game a lot when I was a kid.
I remember when that came out, and there was that one, and what was the other engine? It was SD. What was the? Oh no, it was a Dash 9.
Yeah, the Dash 9.
Yeah, there were a couple of engines, and it was BNSF, but man, they've gone crazy with those train simulators now.
It's pretty crazy.
It's a hobby in and of itself.
Yeah. Just all the different things where you can build your own route. All different. I have some friends who actually will custom 3D model engines that are not in the game, and then they put them into the game. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of brought this. I have a lot of new projects coming in the mail soon. George was a bad influence and encouraged me.
I represent that remark.
So we'll have some new things coming out. But
Mom and Dad Zelensky, don't watch this video.
do not watch this video.
All right, we're going to move this camera over here for you guys on video.
Yeah.
So we can show off the new Athearn model. Now, you've done nothing to this other than set an address, maybe?
I set the address. I put KD, the 148, the regular sized couplers on there because I like those ones. Okay. And then I did a little bit of function remapping.
Okay.
Just to kind of make it match, like we were kind of talking about last week, our function flex mapping where you can make everything match all your other units. So I've got the headlight on button 0 as normal, and then the number boards are on button 6 because that's what traditionally they have been doing. And that's what I do on most of my models. And then the ditch lights are on button 5.
Okay.
Then I also went in and did a little bit of directional lighting. I know you don't really care much for directional lighting, but for cheating a little bit for operations with this engine, I made it so the rear headlight and the rear ditch lights are directional in reverse. Oops.
Yeah, wrong way. There you go.
And then the headlights and the front ditch lights are in on when you're in forward.
Yeah, that's
direction.
fine.
So
I mean, the ability is that you can do all of this and set it up with the decoder, so you can make lights directional if that's what you want to do. And you know, I personally know I've seen like the consoles on the engines where they have just switches, front number boards, rear number boards, front ditch lights, rear ditch lights, however it is, and they're all these toggle switches, and so that's why I try to map them all separately. But for operations purposes, if you're doing a lot of back and forth, you're perfectly capable of doing that.
And that's kind of why I got this as a kind of an all-purpose switcher with those front and rear ditch lights, so I could run it long hood forward if I wanted to. And then I have the number boards are non-directional, so I can always just turn those on.
Right. And this has the number boards on both ends, or do they black out the long hood?
Just on the short hood.
Just on the front. Okay.
So, yeah, kind of a unique prototype here.
That's cool. So where do you exactly do your switching operations?
At my Model Railroad Club.
Oh, okay.
Not on my layout at home, which is currently an oval of Cato Unitrack. There's not much switching to be done there.
I was going to give you a hard time about that. So now that you're in the process of trying to find a permanent place to live up here, because I know you've been bouncing back and forth between Albuquerque, which is where you're originally from, and here, working the week and driving your 3.5-hour commute home.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, I know. Well,
it's only bad if it snows and takes 5 hours.
Yeah. Turn on some tunes, sit back, and just relax.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll see about building a layout soon. Have to decide what I want it to be.
Fair enough.
That's the hardest part.
Switching layout.
Switching layout.
You can run your engine. Yeah. So that's cool. No, Athearn's really been doing a lot now with adding all these extra things. I know the older ones, like this is an Athearn Genesis GP38 here as well. So this is similar in that process, and so you can see that they would have similar. But the cool thing is that with the modular tooling, they're able to model more accurately because there's a couple of differences. And I know on audio you can't necessarily hear it, but like on my Missouri Pacific one, the radiator fans are closer together, but then on his BNSF, they're farther apart. The intake grills are a little bit different on the two models.
Yeah, and then of course you've got those cool smart arresters and no dynamic brakes.
Correct. And that, to be fair though, that's been modular for years. They've always had that as a separate hatch going back to even the Blue Box days. Yeah. But they've been able to model it more accurately all the way around, you know. So it gives us that ability to be able to get the specific models. Because, you know, looking back in the days, now I've started back in the days of Blue Box, which was long before you were around. But, man, we had basically one GP38. And I think it was more like this one here, because that's got the chicken wire grating and the spaced out fans. And basically, if I wanted to have the models more accurate with the closer, I would have to cut that out and rebuild and basically relay the whole long hood, at least the fan area. Then I'd have to come up with the rivet detail and the grab irons and the lift rings and all that stuff. And man, it took a lot. And that plastic was thick, especially when you're trying to cut it. You'd never realize how thick that plastic was until you tried to cut it and modify it. And I did some of that. So I can fully appreciate how much work goes into it. Because I remember back years ago when the Athearn released their GP50s. And the GP50 came out, and then there was another company called Smoky Mountain Model Products or something like that, and they did parts that made the Jeep 60 dynamic brake housings, and there was some a couple of other parts, and then you go to Cannon and Company to get the angled blower duct housing on the side of the long hood, and with a couple of parts here and there, you'd make a couple of changes, and you had a plausible Jeep 60 because nobody made a Jeep 60 at that point in time. So doing the work, I fully appreciate the level of detail that we're getting in a ready-to-run format.
Yeah. It's
so
like I talk to people on the phone and they say, wow, things have really changed in the past 20 years. I'm like, well, that's as long as I've been around.
Yeah.
And I say, even in the last 10 years, I can think back to my first DCC sound engine. It was a Bachmann 260 with the sound value. So you got headlight, backup light, cylinder cocks, bell, whistle.
Yeah, I'm not even sure you got that. It was chuff, chuff, woo, woo, ding, ding, as I remember.
Pretty much, yeah. And then you just take a look even from about 10 years ago to now where we're getting the lit number boards and the class lights and all these different things that they're cramming into these engines.
Exactly. It's amazing. And the level of detail is amazing. So I'm going to show off. When somebody was asking me about something, and I forget what it is, and you can see it in the screen here, if you're watching on video, is this ScaleTrains GP30 that I fixed. But somebody was asking me if I'd shown this off, and I was like, I thought I did, but so if I have, I apologize. I'm not trying to, brag about it or anything again, but this is a ScaleTrains model that I've upgraded, took out their circuit board, put in a CurrentKeeper. I used a Decoder Buddy and a 21-pin Blunami decoder plugged right in. And I've been able to get all the lights. So I'm going to screen record my phone here so you can see everything that is on. Okay, screen record is active. Now, when I come over here, I've got, of course, my headlight, which hopefully you guys can see on there. It looks like it's coming through. But when I open up my side menu here, now one of the advantages, you talked about the lights that Athearn's adding in, as ScaleTrains has got them in there as well. We have our front class lights, which are clear in my case, because in 1978, everything would have been written up as an extra anyway. So I don't need green, and red would be only used if it was shoving, so I don't need those. Then I've got rear class. Go ahead.
Another thing that people don't realize too in the Blunami here that you're showing is that function renaming that you can do.
Yes.
I think that's important to bring up.
That is important to bring up. So I've renamed everything here, and you can see that in the screen if you're watching the video. But all my lighting outputs are labeled what they are. So when I turn them on, you can see that they're on because it highlights it. So I've got my front class lights, my rear class lights, and I've got front number boards. And I tied that together with the truck lights because, as I've mentioned in the past, the number boards would have been the number of the train locomotive of record. So you have the clear class lights, the number boards. So this would be extra 3018. So that's where the engineer would be sitting. So of course the truck lights or ground lights would be on as well. And then rear number boards doesn't turn on the ground lights as well. But then I've got the nose Mars light, which comes on. Now, for those of you watching on video, you'll notice it's not Mars lighting. And what I found in talking to some of the grand engineers was that they could oscillate it kind of on their own. There was a light to illuminate it and then one to actually start the oscillation. So it's harder to model this, but he was talking about sometimes they would bump that oscillation to see around corners when they're running it. Now, we obviously can't do that, but because it was done that way, I've actually tied it into the air horn. So when you blow the air horn, the Mars light effect actually now starts taking place. And it's just another effect that allows us to do that. But then I've got one labeled here, courtesy lights. So when I turn that on, that takes advantage of the lights that they put around on the walkways and stuff. So you can kind of see, I'm going to take this other camera here and hopefully you guys can see that it's got the courtesy lights around the long hood, in front of the steps on each side, and then over the steps on the rear platform. But all this is wired in together to the decoder. So I obviously have enough lighting outputs to do what I need to do with these locomotives, but I just had to wire it up separately because they've hidden it behind a secondary processor. And until they share that with us to be able to use it, it's not a standard. It's proprietary under the guise of a standard. So it's a little frustrating that you have to do that work, but it's worth it. And I will tell you, the Decoder Buddy makes it easy, and it's a nice, quick, clean installation once you're done.
Yeah, I have a ScaleTrains GP30 that's stock, and now I want to do mine.
But I will tell you, if you guys have watched our SoundTraxx YouTube channel, a few months back I did an installation with this Decoder Buddy into a Proto 2000 GP30. And I'll tell you what, the Proto 2000 was way ahead of their time.
They hold up.
Because I put that next to the ScaleTrains unit, and you have a hard time telling which was which.
Yeah.
So aside from the lights, which you can add,
yep,
they were virtually identical. The quality was there, the detail was there. So don't overlook those old Protos, and those can be upgraded. So you can see that in that video.
Some of them take some work with some milling and different things. Even some of the more modern ones.
Yeah, but it is it is what it is. So, the last topic I wanted to talk about today, and this popped up on me actually recently. I was operating trains at the Prairie Scale Model Railroad Club in Lombard, Illinois. And if you guys haven't checked them out, check this layout out. If you're in the area, visit. If you're in the area and you're not a member, why? First off, let's just say that, because this layout was originally built for O-scale. And then they converted the layout. They decided, nope, let's build HO. But they'd already built the benchwork. So we're talking 60-inch radius curves. And, I mean, you see a train running through this slight, gentle curve. It's just it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, you were showing me some video or pictures before you went. And I was like, that's incredible.
So, anyway, I got there and I was operating. And I was getting ready to operate. And I was getting frustrated because I'm building my consist. Now, some of you guys may or may not remember, this is a fairly recent installation I did. This is Mopac 2121. So I put my locomotives on the track. Now, because the Blunami app allows you to consist right then and there, I just threw them on the track whatever order I got them out of. So 2121 just happened to be the lead. Well, what was happening was every time I was turning on the number boards on my lead unit, suddenly all the locomotives had their number boards on, and I was getting mad because why is that? And it turned out it was something I did. And I realized this after the fact, but I was a little frustrated. It took me a little longer than anticipated to get out of the yard. But once I got running, it was fantastic. But I want to show you guys about this, because if you haven't done this, and this is going to apply to your model here as well, because if you haven't paid attention to this, I encourage you to take a look. But first off, you guys, we've done Blunami consisting. It takes seconds. And I can show you this right here. So when we go to our screen, let's make our GP30 the lead. So what I'm going to do is down here on the bottom, you see this little chain link. I'm going to click that, and each device can talk to up to 4 consists at any time. And they're numbered A, B, C, D, but that can be a consist of any number of locomotives. Excuse me. So if I had 6 locomotives on here or 10 locomotives, I could build them in one consist. So we're going to do consist D for David for, I'm not really sure why. But anyway, then we're going to go to the second unit, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click consist D for David, and you'll notice that my screen disappears. My throttle, I have no control over my throttle, but I have 2 questions. Is this a rear loco or middle? We're going to do a rear, and then what direction is it facing? Is it facing forward or facing reverse? And that's it. The app does the hard work for you. So from here, I can now blow the horn, start up the prime movers, give it a motor command. But when I set the brakes, you'll see I've got the brake application on my throttle screen here. So once I get going, waiting for that turbo prime mover to kick in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to notch it up a little bit. And you can hear those notch up, but then when I hit the brakes, you'll notice that now the brake is released and the locomotives are moving. We set the brakes and they work together. So consistency we've talked about in the past. But this is where I screwed up. Now, first off here, let's mute these guys. Should be right there. Nope, apparently I haven't set that one yet. So I need to do this again. But anyway, now when we're building these consists, we go here to the gear settings, and down here on the bottom you'll see consist functions. Now I'm showing you an Apple. Android would be very similar to this. But you go to consist functions, and this is where you set which functions are set to which locomotive based on its position in the consist. So when we open up the lead, bell, yes, air horn, yes, short horn, yes, dynamic brake, yes, RPM plus and minus, yes, dimmer. And then now this doesn't change to match the function mapping, so I've renamed mute as brake application, because mute I moved to function 19. And so you can kind of see where this is going with all of these here. So you kind of go through here and you just look at this point, you focus on the F5, F6, F7, and these are the commands. But down here towards the bottom, you'll see on my lead unit, I've got all of these enabled, FX3, FX4, FX5, 6, 7, 8, and so forth. And you do want those because they're typically on the lead unit. But where I was screwing up was I had apparently thought I had already done this with the lead unit 2121. But when you go to mid, and you'll see no bell, no horn, no short horn, but you've got your brake application or mute enabled, RPM plus and minus. And going through the list, what I had forgotten was I still had FX3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 all highlighted as yes, send that to the lead, to the trailing units, or in this case the middle. And then there's rear loco, so when I go to the rear unit, do the same thing. So I had forgotten to set this. So what I was getting frustrated with, thinking it wasn't acting up, it turned out it was my own fault. But when you got an audience of people watching you, you panic, and I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? Why is this light turning on? And they're asking, why is that light turning on? I'm like, I don't know why that light is turning on. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, and that takes the place of like going in and doing, CV19, 21, 22. It's just so much quicker than, I got to calculate which bits you want enabled for which functions to be enabled on each engine, and then you still got to program that in. It does it all for you. So
correct. Now there's even a button here. Write these CVs to the decoder. So if I want to use the app to set those CVs based on its position, I will send that out. And then I can add it to the consist and go if I want to use the DCC system. Then I can just set CV19 because these are going to be already set. But the issue was I had done this, as you can see here, on this unit, but these settings on this consist functions take place when that locomotive is in the lead. So when this locomotive was in the lead and I hadn't unchecked all those lights, that's why this unit was getting the number boards and truck lights and all that stuff to turn on, because I hadn't disabled it when this locomotive was the lead. So to show you, we're going to go back to our main screen here, and then now when I come over here to my consist functions, lead unit, now they're fixed, of course, because when I had that aha moment, I had to go back and fix it. But you can see all the lead unit are set here. But when I go to the mid, when I scroll down, now they're all turned off. And that was the way I wanted it. But this is where you can take advantage of this, because if you want the courtesy lights on all your locomotives, if you have them illuminated or step lights or whatever, this is where you would then enable them on your trailing units as well, like I have with my BNSF stuff, which is sadly behind upgrading to Blunami. I have one of them converted, and I've just been lazy because I've been focusing on the stuff I run on my home layout. But this part's important. But then come again, let's look at the options here. So we've got this consist. Obviously there's no ditch lights, but in your locomotive you have ditch lights. So if I enable those lights on a trailing unit, let's say he's trying to run in my train, now the headlight may not be working because the headlight would be on here. But if I don't disable that, those ditch lights are shining into the second unit. And so that's where you want to take that advantage of going in and setting those settings in the menus in your Blunami app. And so once you set that up, each locomotive, when you put the Blunami in, you'll want to go back, because those settings are not for the app, they're for when that locomotive is in the lead. So that way you can have, let's say for argument's sake, if you want to set your switchers up one way and run them up together, or let's say you're like me, I've got a group of steam, UP steam stuff that I run with the SD70 Ace, that's the heritage units or whatever, and if I want to enable that, that whole list of functions may be different than, say, my Missouri Pacific stuff, which doesn't have any step lights or anything like that. So that's why you have that ability to do that per locomotive. But if you're consistent with your locomotives, when you do your initial setup, you can just go into that consist functions, quickly change it out. But I wanted to bring that up because, yes, it can happen to the best of us when we're sitting in a place with an audience and something doesn't work right, and now you get frustrated because I'm embarrassed because it's not working right. I've got an audience of people in front of me expecting it to work right, and it was something stupid I did on my part. So don't overlook it. The good news was, like I said, you didn't break it.
Yeah.
I didn't break the decoder. It just wasn't doing what I thought because I thought I had already done it, which is why it was on the trip with me. And it just so happened that that was the lead unit. But it gave us a great teaching lesson. You know, take advantage of the learning. Now, once I figured that out, went and unchecked those for the middle and trailing units, rebuilt the consist, man, they went around the layout great. I've got a clip inserted right here that you can see over behind the scenes here so that you can actually see. But the train ran well, except for a couple of the club cars. But I also had brought my Missouri Pacific caboose, the offset wide vision, that I've shown here on the podcast. So it was a fun experience. It's a great club. Like I said, if you're in the Chicago area and you're not part of this club or you're not visiting that club, what's wrong with you? But those folks are great folks. They're welcoming. Call them, contact them, come out and visit them on open house. As a matter of fact, the Saturday I was at the O-Scale meet, they were doing decoder installation classes. They had people bring their own locomotives and decoders, so not SoundTraxx decoders. Just want to point that out. And had people bring it in so that way they could help them guide how to do a decoder installation there in front of them.
Yeah.
So it was a really great weekend. They had a great day. A lot of people turned out for that, and then we ran trains Sunday afternoon after a brief presentation for them. So
yeah, depending on the model, it's really it can be easy to do an installation.
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple podcasts ago, we showed that Alaska GP38. I did that in my 30-minute lunch break.
Yeah,
just a quick boom, swap it out, upgrade it, and it's nothing you need to be afraid of.
Who gave you 30 minutes for lunch? 15. I need you. Because when you're at lunch, I'm answering the phone.
Yeah, bummer.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, the decoder installations are pretty easy, and especially they're getting easier now.
Oh yeah.
But of course, as these model companies start going more proprietary route, I've seen Rapido starting to do some of that now where they're hiding lights behind the processors again. So, you know, it can be a little bit more encompassing. The Rapido GP38s that are out there, our friend Chris Brown has a YouTube channel that you can go to and watch to see how he did the upgrade, because they now have a uniboard and it has all the LEDs on the circuit board, so you're kind of having to replace a lot of LEDs, and it's frustrating for the user because now you have to take it out because not everybody wants that factory installed stuff.
Well, and the big thing is they advertise the DCC ready models.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you can't use the lighting functions, then why even offer the DCC ready, in my opinion? Well,
that's what they're trying to do, is essentially steer you towards more of their product, and they make more on it, so of course they're going to want to do that. But you know, if it doesn't take, it's not a lot of work to upgrade and change them out. It just takes time. It's not hard. It's not difficult to do. It's identifying, okay, there's your function common. Here's the wire for, in this case, the white or clear class lights. Here's the wire for green. Don't need that one. Here's the wire for red. Don't need that one. Here's the wire for the number boards. Okay? And then just decide where you're going to wire it. Add the resistor, or if you're using a Decoder Buddy, you don't need the resistors. And just connect them and you're done. So... anyway, I think we've run a little longer than I normally plan, but that's a lot of great information. Hopefully it's helped you guys in your modeling, because ultimately our goal is to help you enjoy your hobby that much more. Take away some of the fear and apprehension of the technical side of it, so that way you can enjoy running trains, which is ultimately the goal. I mean, we want to run trains. We enjoy it. I enjoy it. I know you enjoy it. So... anyway, with that, I guess that's everything else. Any last closing thoughts?
I think that's about it.
So we've exhausted that cranium of yours? So, anyway, the other thing I'm looking forward to, just on a little side note, speaking of cranium, I get hit in the head a lot. My hockey season's about to be over, so I'm about to have a lot more projects on the workbench.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Time to get some stuff done.
I know. So with that, we're going to close it out. So guys, that's another episode of Train Talk from Milepost 141. I believe this is our 20th, but last time I said I was going to go look at, it's season 2. I think we're at episode 6 or 7 now. So I have to go back and look.
Yeah, but we forgot to look.
I forgot to look, and so I'll put that on my to-do list for next time. So anyway, hope this has been entertaining for you. Hope this has been enjoyable. If you guys have any comments, leave them below in the comments section. Give us an email at support@soundtraxx.com and ask him, and he'll be happy to help you. But if I'm also a phone call or an email away if you need help as well. So one thing, we will never abandon our phone lines. You need help, you give us a call. We'll be here for you. Don't rely on internet forums from third-party Wild West.
It's so funny. I get people, they say, I read this on the internet. It's not everything you read on the internet is true.
What?
Can you believe that?
That's hard to believe. So, anyway, that's it. We're dragging this on, closing it out. So, guys, that's all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.